Hey, Taylor Ellwood here with Magical Experiments, and I know that tonight we're on a different time and a different bat time, a different bat channel when it comes to the video of the week, but I've got plans later this week, so I thought I'd do it a little early, and also, well, I may be changing the time anyway. But I'm really excited this week to talk about manifesting or wealth manifestation and wealth magic, and of course, I'm going to mention I do have a book on the topic, so their obligatory promotion of my book. Go check that out if you want to. But really, I want to talk tonight about the about how to adopt a strategic and disciplined approach to wealth magic and wealth in general, and what the difference is between wealth and money magic, as well as answer a few comments or questions that people shared with me earlier last week in the Magical Experiments group. So today was a big day for me too, because today I paid off a significant amount of debt in my life. I got rid of all my credit card debt, and I got rid of my student loans, and now it's just like, student loan for my sweetheart, my partner. That's it. It's a good feeling. And on top of that, of course, I've also managed to make some other good choices. So I'm really happy about that. So you might say, well, why are you talking about manifesting wealth if you even would admit that you're in debt? I mean, after all, shouldn't you be, like a billionaire and have Lambos out the gazoo and have ladies dripping off your arms and, be flashing dollars and all that other fun stuff, right? Well, I'll tell you something. The truth about manifesting wealth is that wealth differs from person to person. But what's really important about wealth is that it allows you to live a sustainable lifestyle for you. And for me, that's really what my focus on wealth has always been about. It's not been about how much money I have, although certainly having a fair amount of money is nice. Having emergency savings and investments and all those other things are very important things. It's about cultivating a particular lifestyle, and I think that's really important. I think a lot of people make the mistake of assuming that money and wealth are one and the same things when in fact they're not. Yes, money can help you do a lot of things, and I will be the first to admit that. When a person has money, they are able to do a lot of wonderful things for themselves, and there's no doubt about that. But if we make the mistake of assuming that money equals wealth, we ignore a lot of other holistic elements that need to be included in wealth. For example, health, right? Your health is part of your wealth. How you are able to take care of yourself, how you're able to sustain your overall quality of life is an important aspect. You can have lots of money and be in poor health, and guess what? That money's going to go toward trying to help you with your health. I personally prefer to be in good health and have lots of money, because then I can enjoy that money in other ways instead of having to put it toward maintaining my health, as an example. I think of wealth in terms of the relationships you have in your life. Do you have healthy relationships with people in your life? A healthy romantic relationship, yes, but also healthy friendships, healthy boundaries, a healthy relationship with yourself. This is also part of wealth. So when I look at wealth, I really try to look at it in terms of that. I also look at it in terms of what you're doing. Are you doing what you really want to do with your life? Lots of people work at jobs they hate. They make lots of money, but they hate their jobs. That's not a form of wealth in my mind, because yeah, you may be making a lot of money, but if you're miserable for a good portion of your day, is that really a form of wealth? Not really. So I think that when we look at wealth magic and we look at things along these lines, we really have to look at it with this nuanced perspective of what that means, and not just look at it from the lens of how much money do you have. Money's important. I'm not going to disagree with that. It plays an integral role, and I would say that money loves to move. Money absolutely loves to move, and it's a part of wealth magic. But when we factor in those other pieces, that's what makes up wealth magic. Now, in my opinion, the key to manifesting wealth is that you have to take on a very strategic and disciplined approach to wealth manifestation. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you cannot be impulsive. And lots of people are impulsive with money. A good example of that is like when people win the lottery, what happens for the most part? Most of them lose that money within the first couple years. Why? Because they don't know what to do with that money. They don't know how to wrap their heads around it. They don't know how to adapt to a different lifestyle. And so they end up back where they were, if not worse, because, well, they didn't know what to do with all that money. A strategic and disciplined approach to wealth is basically an understanding that, let's say you suddenly come into a lot of money, that the smartest thing you could do is sit on that money for about a good 6 months before you really do anything, so that you can wrap your head around how that changes your life. And I say this from recent experience. I inherited some money, which is a wonderful thing, and I'm very grateful for it. And I spent a good 6 months, once I found out, I spent it just wrapping my head around it, not really doing anything per se. And part of it helped that it was in probate, so that certainly didn't hurt. But it really helped me to get very clear on what is it I wanted to do with that money. And of course, in the end, I decided I'm going to pay off some of my debts, and I'm going to put the rest toward investments so that I can continue to manifest more wealth in my life while I focus on a disciplined approach to paying off the last big debt that I have. And that's what I'm doing right now. I have this plan in place that's going to help me get the last student debt that I have. Not mine, but my partner's, but it's going to help us get it out of the way within the next couple of years. And it's very disciplined. It means we're going to continue to live the way we are right now. We're not going to drastically change our lifestyle. Instead, we're going to put every cent into paying that stuff off. And that's a strategic, disciplined approach. Most people will not take that approach with money. Most people will not take that approach with manifesting wealth, because their idea of wealth is extravagance. Oh, I'm suddenly wealthy. Well, then let's go out there and buy that hot new car. Let's go out there and buy all that fancy food and wine. Let's go out there and go on vacation and do all this other crazy stuff. And hey, that stuff's fun, and there's a place for it. But if you do not have a strategic, disciplined approach, then you just go and spend it everywhere, are you really manifesting wealth? Not at all. You're manifesting poverty. You're just going to manifest it in terms of the fact that eventually your lifestyle will revert back to what it was before. So this is why I recommend take your time. And if you're applying wealth magic to this equation, really what you're doing is you're adopting that strategic mindset, and you're really looking at, how will I move the money? How will I work with money to move it? How will I work with wealth overall to manifest the life that I want? What will I do to strategically set myself up for the best possible life I can live? And that's really how I look at wealth magic. And it's the difference between wealth and money magic, because a lot of people will do money magic to get money to solve a crisis or a problem. How many of you have done money magic to solve a problem that came into your life? You suddenly had some money come your way that you needed to have, and it solved a problem for you. Great. You're back where you were, but you don't have that problem anymore until it comes around again in some other form or manner. That to me is what money magic is, whereas wealth magic is the strategic, planned by design approach to your life, where you're using your available resources smart and strategically to get you where you want to be. In my particular case, I'm working back towards self-employment. I was self-employed for 9 years. I loved it. It was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life in terms of just living on my own schedule. There were some things I didn't care for about it, and I figured that out. When I had the situations come up in my life a couple of years ago where I had to go back to work, it forced me to spend a lot of time figuring out what went wrong, why didn't things work out the way I wanted them to. And the conclusion I really came to was a lot of it was because of the stuff I was doing. I didn't have my heart in it. I wasn't fully invested in it in the way I needed to be, and I was unhappy and sabotaging myself. There were other reasons too, but that was a pretty important one. And so, I spent about a good half a year figuring out what did I really want to do, and came to the conclusion I really just want to write. I want to write my books, on my nonfiction books. I want to write my fiction books. And then I started putting things into place. I started building out a plan. I published a couple books, self-published, not published through my old publisher, but self-published, to test and see, would this work? And by doing that, I discovered that yes, self-publishing was a sure path, was a much better path toward me being able to manifest independence for my lifestyle. And so then I took all my books back, and I did that this last year in October. actually September, and then republished them in October. And I basically did this with an understanding that short term I was going to be paying some money because I was going to pay for new covers and all that other stuff. I did all that. I got everything set up, and I started to get those books out there and started doing the things that really made me happy and feel excited and alive to do what I want to do the most. And did in my spare time. I work at a full-time job right now, a job I don't really want to be at, but I'm working my way out of that job. And so what I ended up doing is I took that and I continued down this path, and I got to the point where I actually am now no longer in the red within the last couple months with my writing. Like, I am actually able to totally sustain that. And that to me is part of what manifesting wealth is all about. It's finding a way to sustain your lifestyle, finding a way to take care of what you want to do. I'm not to the point where I've replaced my salary. It'll probably be a little while, but I'm getting there. I am working it every single day, and I'm figuring out ways to become better at what I'm doing and to do something that I genuinely, passionately love. And this to me is an important aspect of manifesting wealth. Now, I'm going to say something important here too. There are times you're going to have to do stuff that you don't like to do to get where you want to go. I mean, that's like where I'm at right now. I'm working at a job I don't want to be at, but there are benefits to this job. One of the benefits is that I actually am able to save my creativity for my writing. It's not taken up. If I was working at a tech writing job, which would pay a bit more, I would have no creative space left for my writing, which would kind of defeat the purpose of being there. The other thing that it's really allowed me to do is it's allowed me to prioritize my time effectively and to live on a schedule that works for me. I get up early in the morning, but then I'm done by the middle of the afternoon, and I'm able to focus my time on the pursuits that I want to pursue for the rest of the time thereafter. So, there are times where you may have to do something you don't want to do, and so then consequently that is also part of a disciplined approach, because a disciplined approach to wealth is going to necessarily understand that sometimes you have to make sacrifices in the short term to get to the long-term results that you want. And that's what wealth is. Wealth is a long-term game. It's played the entirety of your life. And if you're smart, you play it well to the point that you can put it into place. And by the middle of your life, for sure, you get to a point where things are really rolling the way you want them to. That's kind of the place where I'm getting to, or will get to, within the next couple of years. So I'm very happy about that. When it comes to wealth magic as it relates to other things, a lot of people, again, they focus on the money aspect, but I say, like, with your wealth magic, you want to approach it in terms of lifestyle design. Like, for me, my lifestyle design is shaped around, like, what will optimally help my health, which is why I've developed some of the systems, like in the Inner Alchemy of Life, with working with the neurotransmitters and the microbiota of the body. It's also, in some cases, allowed me to help, like in the case of my partner, I developed a career advancement entity for my partner. And that's been very helpful because in her career, she has advanced very quickly, all things considered, much faster than would probably occur otherwise. And most of that's because of her own skills and talents. Let me be very clear. But having a little bit of magical help along the way makes a huge difference. And that's one of the things I've done. You might say, well, why haven't you done that for yourself? Again, because I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in becoming self-employed again. The job that I'm at works for the purposes because it allows me to focus more of my effort on my writing. And that's what really matters to me. Being able to focus on my writing and get the things done, that's how I'm going to get back to where I want to be in my life. And so you got to remember as well that there are different strokes work for different people. The thing I did for my partner, that works for her, and it's where she wants to be, so it's awesome. The thing that I'm doing for myself is I am focusing my efforts and resources around becoming free by focusing them on the activities that I really want to do, while using the activity I don't want to do as a way to support that. And actually, well, not even to support that at this point. It doesn't. It's just focused on getting rid of the debt. But that's the point. The fact that I can take the entirety of what I have and put it toward getting rid of whatever remaining debt I have is a very smart play on my part. And another benefit out of it is that I'm continuing to invest money in the retirement program they have, so that by the time I do get out of the job, I can just take that and roll it over into my investments. You see, a strategic approach to wealth looks at the long term. It takes the short term sacrifices, it deals with it, and it focuses you on getting where you want to go, because it is so easy to play the game of making stupid mistakes in your life and getting caught up on things that you don't really want to get caught up on. That's why we want to take that approach. Now, I want to address a couple questions that I noticed in here. And here's the thing that I want to address. This is in the Magical Experiments group. I had asked, what questions do you have about wealth magic? What challenges do you have around implementing wealth magic in your life? One person mentioned they're currently reassessing the underpinnings of economics and finance and trying to look at it from a magical perspective. Very good. I think that's a great way to approach that kind of thing. I would suggest looking at it from the perspective of money as a spiritual force, as an entity. Money likes to move. Money likes to do things. If you can learn to work with money in that way, that can teach you a lot about economics and finance. I'd also recommend at the same time, read some books on practical finance. Even if you feel like you can't implement all that advice, maybe you can implement some of it. And if you can implement some of it, that's a good thing to do, because that can make a difference in your life and might help you implement more of it down the line. The other question was a question about using money magic for things for chance, like doing for lottery scratch off tickets, things like that, finding money. And the person asked what my thoughts were about it, and I basically said that I kind of feel like that's a waste of money, magic right there. And the reason why is because you are dealing with a situation of chance scenario, of chance-based magic, luck-based magic, really. Am I going to get lucky and get that winning ticket? Well, here's the thing. When you're playing against all the other people that are playing for like a lottery, for example, you're dealing with all their probability fields. Can you factor all of those in? Probably not, because that is a heady task in and of itself. I mean, could it work? Maybe, but if there's somebody out there who's won the lottery using magic, they ain't talking, and there probably is a good reason for them not talking. It's the same thing with any kind of chance-oriented approach. I really don't subscribe to using luck or trying to manipulate the odds when it comes to wealth magic. I think it comes right down to that strategic, smart approach to wealth, that what you're really trying to do is build a specific lifestyle, and that you're looking at the resources that you have available to you. And yes, you're using some magic, but you're also learning the practical, mundane skills that will help you maintain that wealth for life. I mean, it's something I use that helped me a lot in the 9 years I was self-employed. The main reason I'm not self-employed anymore is I made some stupid mistakes the last couple of years, because I got wrapped up in this idea that I could somehow get there faster than I could. And part of it was that self-sabotage I talked about earlier, but part of it was, I want to find a shortcut. I want to find a way to make this business sustainable much more quickly than it is happening. And it was dumb. I mean, I had already broken even on that business. I was doing pretty good with it. But I got too wrapped up in that. I ended up almost alienating my audience in one case. And in another case, I basically ended up letting that business go altogether. Now, but the good thing about it was, the silver lining was that it really did force me to ask myself, what do I really want to do? And the end conclusion was, I want to spend my life writing, rest of my life writing. That's what's important to me. And I've determined that it is actually a viable means of making a living. I'm actively working on that. That, to me, is part of wealth manifestation. You figure out what you want to do, and you find ways to make it happen for you. And some of that may involve magic, but some of it's also going to involve those practical, mundane skills that will help you make your life easier. Okay, so that's it. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions, all that other good stuff, and have a great evening. Take care.